to Throwing Stones. I'm your host, Mark Lesmeister. Today we take up a new thread in the history of catapults, that of the Mangonel, or traction trebuchet. These machines relied on traction, or manual pulling, to launch the projectile. Mangonels were invented in ancient China. An example would be the crouching tiger. No, not this crouching tiger, this crouching tiger. The crouching tiger Mangonel was operated by a team of 70 soldiers who took turns in groups pulling down on the ropes on the left to launch the 7-kilogram projectile. The weapon had a range of about 80 meters. We don't know with certainty how the Mangonel made it from China to the west. Some authorities credit the Avars, an empire which often fought against the Eastern Roman Empire, otherwise known as the Byzantine Empire, in the early Middle Ages. So how did the Avars learn to build the things? Now, the Avars did have contacts in the East, so it's possible that's where they got the information from. But my favorite story says that the Avars learned how to make the Mangonel directly from the Byzantines. There was a Byzantine soldier out hunting, supposedly, and the Avars took him captive, and the soldier, his name was Busus, said that if you take me back to my city, they'll pay a handsome ransom for me. And so the Avars did that. They took him to the city gates, and Busus, begged for his life. He's saying, pay my ransom because I'm a soldier for this city. I've defended you very often. In fact, he even tried to guilt him into paying the ransom by showing his battle scars. He said, I got this one for fighting against the Slavs, and I got this one for fighting against this lot, or something like that. But unfortunately for Busus, his wife had been having an affair with a city official, and so that city official conspired to not have the city officials pay the ransom, and so Busus learned he wasn't going to be ransomed by his own people. And so he said, well, I was just going to try to get some ransom for you guys, but if you spare my life, I'll show you how to do much better than that. I'm going to show you how to take over the city itself. And so Busus supposedly showed the Avars how to build catapults, in which they then used to sack the city. However the device came to the West, we know that it was used by the Arabs under Muhammad in the 7th century, where it was called a mangonel, and by the Franks and Saxons in the 8th century. By the end of the 9th century, some authorities think the Vikings were using the Mangonel. No, not these Vikings. Well, actually, yes, these Vikings. Although it's fictional, the TV show Vikings is fairly authentic in its display of the technology the Vikings may have used. In Season 5 of this show, this guy, Ubba Ragnarsson, demonstrates a catapult to this guy, Alfred, the King of Wessex. Great as this show is, they don't get everything right. Ubba and Alfred were enemies, for one thing. However, we do have a historical source that says in the Siege of Paris in 885 CE, both sides, Frankish and Viking, were said to have used catapults. Let's build a traction-powered Mangonel using the kit. So here is the completed device from the kit. The original design called for using a rubber band here, but I substituted some string because I wanted to show you an actual traction-powered Mangonel. It works pretty well. There are those that doubt that groups such as the Vikings used catapults because they were too complex and too cumbersome to be carried around by raiders. That might be true of torsion-powered devices like the onager, but mangonels were fairly easy to construct, and they could be built on site. In order to demonstrate that the technology behind the mangonel was both fairly straightforward and easily transportable, I'm going to build a very simplified version of the device. It is the catapult that we built when I was a scoutmaster. I made this by lashing poles together with ropes. I have a how-to video for this device on my YouTube channel. So here is the completed Mangonel. So with my brilliant and talented assistant, Ms. Lesmeister, we will see how it fires. Set up. All right. 3, 2, 1, launch! So clearly, if I could build something like this in just a matter of hours with commonly available materials, any culture from the Avars to the Vikings to the Franks to anybody else could have built something much more substantial, even if they had to make it mobile. They can be made much larger, of course. Here's one from an illustration in the Morgan Bible. Looks like the guy loading the stone forgot something. Dude, let go. Unlike a device that relies on torsion, where there is a limit to how much energy you can get out of the twisting ropes or sinew, the amount of energy you can get out of a traction device is limited only by how much work you are willing to do. That's true in the everyday sense of the word work, but it's also true in the physics sense. In physics, work refers to the transfer of energy by applying a force over a motion. When those dozens of Chinese soldiers pulled down on the ropes in the Crouching Tiger device, they were applying a force over a motion. In so doing, they were transferring energy to the device, with hopefully as much as possible of that energy going to the energy of motion of the projectile. There are some rules we use to calculate work, such as that no work is done if the motion is perpendicular to the force. Thus, if I carry a weight at a constant height, I do no work. But if I pull on a rope in the direction of its motion, I do work. Next time on Throwing Stones, we will look at the ultimate catapult, the counterweight trebuchet. Until then, let me leave you with the words of Charlemagne, who founded the Frankish dynasty that brought an end to the Avar Empire and that defeated the Vikings at Paris in 885. Right action is better than knowledge, but in order to do what is right, we must know what is right.